Let's move on and talk about this upcoming week's game against the Houston Texans. A really interesting matchup. The Texans, certainly not a team that you think of as a juggernaut, but it's a team that the Dolphins have never beaten.
It puzzles my mind. I've been there for a number of those losses. I really think the physicality of the Texans has always given the Dolphins a lot of trouble. J.J. Watt, 2 years ago, Ryan Tannehill played against, his first game was against the Texans up there in Houston, and J.J. Watt was slapping balls left and right, intercepting passes, tipping passes to other players at the line of scrimmage. The Dolphins are going to really have to hone in on trying to hone in on J.J. Watt and trying to make sure that he's not in the passing lanes, because that's really one of the specialties that he does. Also, the running game. The Texans have a very physical running game, a lot of cut blocking. That stays consistent no matter who the coaching is. And I think that, as we saw in the season opener against Washington, that's going to be an issue for the Dolphins' defensive line. They don't like it when the offensive linemen shooting for their knees. So this is going to be a tremendous challenge for the Dolphins' defensive line.
Is Brian Hoyer a good quarterback?
No, he's not a good quarterback, but he does have one of the better weapons in the NFL in Hopkins. That kid is having a monster year, on pace, putting up Calvin Johnson-esque numbers. And it'll be interesting to see what happens and how Brent Grimes plays against him, because I do believe Brent Grimes is going to be shadowing him.
So that's a good question. Let's take it from @Cisco Holgate, who says, is the bigger concern Arian Foster or DeAndre Hopkins in this game?
I think it's Arian Foster. I mean, you come into every game with the game plan of shutting down the run, owning the line of scrimmage. Arian Foster has been a very productive tailback. He's not always healthy, but you've got to be physical with him. And you've also got to be physical with their defensive line, their offensive line. Dwayne Brown is a very effective premier left tackle. It'll be interesting to see that matchup between Olivier Vernon and Dwayne Brown. But DeAndre Hopkins is a very dangerous weapon. Now, you've got an elite cornerback. He's not 100% healthy. Brent Grimes is still an elite cornerback. That matchup is probably going to be the best matchup of the game, but they've got to shut down Arian Foster to be able to win the game.
Well, you got Cecil Shorts on the other side, a couple of tight ends who haven't done a lot. It's basically, if you could stop Arian Foster and put it on Brian Hoyer's arm, then the Dolphins have got to feel pretty good about that.
Certainly, absolutely.
We're not playing true-false today, but let's take a true-false question anyway. It's from Brandon. Koamisi needs to replace Kelvin Shepard in inside linebacker. True or false?
I'm going to go with false on that. I think Kelvin Shepard needs more opportunities, needs more look. It's been a while since he's been an NFL starter. Let's treat him as if he was a rookie. The game one, he's splitting the carry, he's splitting the workload. Now they're just giving the workload to Kelvin Shepard. And I think that is going to benefit him eventually in the long run. But Koamisi has to play better. I think Jelani Jenkins has to play better as well. What we've seen early in the season is these tight ends are going off, and that's Jelani Jenkins' responsibility. This week is the best week to hone in on it, because next week you got Rob Gronkowski. That is, you're going to need an army to stop Rob Gronkowski. So, to me, I don't have a problem with Kelvin Shepard. I think the Dolphins need to get better at covering the tight ends, and that's not Kelvin Shepard's responsibility. That's Koamisi, and that's Jelani Jenkins, and I think that should be the priority for the linebackers.
And they're not a great quarterback, not a great tight end. Like you said, this is a good week for them to do that. Maybe the biggest concern, really, as you talked about DeAndre Hopkins and stopping Arian Foster, but J.J. Watt is the man who can kind of run this game.
He is probably the premier defensive player in the NFL. I would have a hard time naming somebody who's better, who's more of an impactful player. And the Dolphins really have to stop him at the line of scrimmage. J.J. Watt, I put him in the same comparison to Ndamukong Suh in terms of impactful players. While you have not had the impact that you wanted or needed or feel is worthy of $114 million from Ndamukong Suh, there are a number of plays where he's commanding a double team. There are a number of plays where he's slapping balls at line of scrimmage. There are a number of plays where he's pushing the center or the guard into the quarterback's line of vision. And that's the same kind of stuff that you see from J.J. Watt. Now, if the Texans were smart, and you would think most coaches are smart, they're going to put J.J. Watts on Dallas Thomas. As we know and are well aware of, there are many instances during every game where Dallas Thomas falls short in critical instances, critical moments. I believe he had 5 plays where he was 4. I'll give him 4. Even though, one of them turned out to be a pretty good play on the Kenny Stills deep ball. He olayed his man, and Lamar Miller had to pick it up for him. Dolphins got to do something about Dallas Thomas. I think this is the line that's been drawn in the sand. This game is your opportunity to prove that you can be a quality NFL starter. If not, and if you let J.J. Watt abuse you, and you let him consistently harass Ryan Tannehill, you let him make tackles in the backfield, you let him jump up in the passing lanes, it's time to sit down. And it's time to give Jamil Douglas or Sam Brenner an opportunity to start. Dallas Thomas, this game's on you.
I know it always hasn't been the best part of his game, but has Lamar Miller gotten better at pass protection?
Yes.
Okay.
Throughout his career, it's not the best part of his game, but he's adequate now. Before, he wasn't really adequate. That's probably why you saw him lead the field on third downs. And I still think that there's still an opportunity for somebody else, maybe Jay Ajayi, who's beginning to practice this week, but won't be cleared to play until week 9. There's a role for somebody to be at that third down back. But I definitely think that Lamar Miller is better at pass blocking. He's no longer a liability.
A bunch of those stars that we talked about are ailing but played last week, whether it be Brandon Albert, Brent Grimes, Rashad Jones, Cameron Wake. There's no more bye week to heal up from this point forward. So are these lingering issues that these 4 guys are going to have throughout the year?
Yes. Okay. Soft muscle issues, hamstrings, growings, like Jordan Cameron has, those take time and they require rest. You're either going to not be able to practice during the week to play on Sunday, or you need to be shut down. Brent Grimes probably shouldn't have played last week. He was not himself as a player. Yes, you saw a wonderful interception against Anthony Fasano, but he's probably going to not be himself for another 2 to 3 weeks. You just got to play the best that you can to compensate for what's going on. Same thing with Cameron Wake. Same thing with Brandon Albert. Brandon Albert played, and he was better than Jason Fox at 75%. But let's not pretend like he played well. And there is room for improvement from Brandon Albert. You're talking about a Pro Bowl left tackle who's not playing at a Pro Bowl level. He's got the hamstring injury. He's got the knee injury that's 11 months from being surgically repaired. You have to make do with what you have and endure. Same thing every opponent has. Arian Foster's not 100%. I'm sure the Texans have key players that aren't 100%. This is what the NFL is.
Let's take a live question. It comes from Elliot. Was that the most second-level blocking by the offensive line that we've seen in a while?
Yes, and I give Deion Sims a lot of credit. I give Billy Turner a lot of credit. Mike Pouncey. That's when Mike Pouncey doesn't have to stand there and help a guard.
Right.
And can just shoot off and get to the second level and take down a linebacker and cut block a linebacker. That opens up the running lanes to get you those 20-yard runs. And you got to get better at guard. You got to get better at guard to be able to do that. And fortunately, the Dolphins took a step in the right direction, inserting Billy Turner in there as a run blocker. And the next question is, you got to fix that other spot.
Right.
How are you going to do that? Let's see Dan Campbell.
Let's see. Well, he's fixed everything else so far, right? Everything?
Nah, I don't know if he's fixed everything. There's still some issues that you have on offense.